Hey guys, Mr. Kyle, Myers Mathematics, and let's just jump right into it. So today I want to talk about multiple choice hacks, how to kind of hack the system, so to speak. Starting with some incorrect things that are out there, which you can already see. I've got them listed. There's 5 things. If I missed something really important, let me know in the comments below, but I think I've pretty much got the gist of the most important things. And actually, there's really only 3. Like number 1 and number 2 are kind of the same thing. Number 3 and number 4 are kind of the same thing. But some common misconceptions, I guess. So the first and the second thing, pick B or pick C. Yeah, if you're not sure, just pick C. It's the most likely answer anyways. Well, actually, I heard growing up it was C. And for the longest, I was like, oh, well, if I don't know, I guess I should pick C. I guess that's the best answer if I don't know. When really, actually, they did some research on this a while back, and it turns out it was B all along. Who knew? But the reason why it's on my incorrect things out there is because they found in this research that B was right 28% of the time. As in, like, if it was evenly spaced out, it would be 25% of the time. Literally 3% better than 25%. That's really not that much of a difference. It's not. Don't bank on that. All right. So don't pick B. Don't pick C. Don't pick A, B, C, D, E, F, Q, R, S. Don't pick anything just because you think that somebody said that that's going to happen the most often. Okay. Terrible idea. Number 1 and 2. Number 3 and 4. These are a little better. Again, maybe don't bank on them per se. 3 and 4 are not as bad as 1 and 2. All of the above or none of the above. When they did research on this, it was actually fairly good. If you see all of the above or none of the above, I think for all of the above, it was right on this same research, roughly 50-50. So those are actually pretty decent odds. But don't bank on that either, because this research that was done, it was done on tests that like teachers had made. It wasn't like standardized tests and stuff. So all of this research is coming from those kinds of tests. And the trend more and more as we get better and better technology is that they're all standardized. They're all made by a computer. So A, B, C, and D could get all flipped around. Like you could have the same exact problem as somebody next to you, but their A is your C and flipped around and vice versa. And then the numbers, the questions could get changed so that the numbers in the question change. There's all kinds of cool things that test generator softwares can do. So what I'm trying to say is you can't really bank on that too much either. It's not a terrible choice if you have no other option. But definitely don't do 1 or 2. Don't just pick C or pick B because 28%. No, don't bank on 28%. Don't do that to yourself. But all of the above or none of the above, that's like a very last ditch. Like not even plan B or plan C, like plan F. Okay, like plan F, you've exhausted plan A, B, C, D, and E, and you just have no other tools or tricks in your hacks, which is what we're talking about here. And then number 5, this is a super popular one, at least in my circles, is that like teachers, administrators, students even will be like, oh, I'm just gonna get one of those like stupid little peppermint things. Or administrators are like, especially older ones, like it seems like old people really like peppermint for some reason. I don't know why. They just do. But yeah, they get peppermints and they're like, oh, here, kid, have some peppermint. It's going to help you on the test. And it doesn't. And you're like, what? This peppermint was supposed to be magic. It was supposed to be a magic pixie dust in my mouth. And it just didn't work. So I'm sorry. You should have studied more, kid. But yeah, so peppermints, I mean, it's like if you really, really believe that it's going to help you, it probably does. Because research shows that if you really believe something helps you, then it's called the placebo effect. It's basically what it turns out to be. If you're really sure that this thing's going to help, then you're like, all right, I feel pretty, it increases your confidence, decreases your stress, helps you to take the test better. So if that kind of stuff helps, then go for it. That's actually what I'm going to talk about in the next section here. So now that I've gotten the incorrect things out of the way, let's go into what you should do. All right, so step 1 is always going to be know the material. All right, so I hate to be like a you should just study hard, kid, and then you'll get the good grade. But I mean, if you do, and you do a lot of questions, and you're gonna do better if you study versus not studying. I'll leave it vague like that instead of getting into some nitty gritty details. But step 1, plan A should be, I just know how to solve the problem. I'm gonna solve it and pick the right answer, right? That's plan A, right? So disclaimer has been set for this whole video. This video is gonna cover plan B, C, E, D, F, Q, R. Okay, but plan A, let it be known, is to just do well, study well, plan well, practice well. And that's actually what a lot of the videos in this series are going to be on. By the way, if you're watching this video and you didn't know as part of a series, this is video 2 in a 14 video series, a 2-week series on test prep. The first video, I believe it'll have it in the description at the end of the video, but it's on multiple choice, or not multiple choice. That's what this video is on. It's on, oh my gosh, what is it on? Oh, word problems. There we go. Math word problems, and how to kind of get into math word problems and make them so that they're no harder than just a regular math problem. I mean, there's no magic pill, but there's a couple steps in there that are really, really cool. And if you follow my guidance on there, you will understand word problems better, guaranteed. So go check that out if you haven't already. But anyways, so step A, plan A, know the material well enough to solve. And at this point, I'm sure you've probably read the rest of them, but I'm going to go ahead and read. So, if you want to skip ahead, if you already read and you feel like you understand it, you can go to the next part. You can do that. I'm okay with that. That's fine. But step 2, eliminate an outlier. So what I mean is, a lot of times an outlier could be A, B, C, or D. You look for something that's different than the other things, right? So, for instance, like in this example, there's going to be something that's different than the other things, and I'm going to eliminate that as an outlier. So that's going to be in the example that I'll do in a second. But eliminate an outlier. Oh, that was really fast. Sorry. Eliminate an outlier. I need to enunciate better. So step 4, I'm going to skip step 3, ironically enough, because step 3 is to skip. But I really feel like I should have switched these, but step 4 really maybe should have been step 3. I don't know. We'll switch these around here. Switch those. But so let's say step 3 is to look for answers that are close, and then step 4 would be to skip it. So step 1, just know how to do it. Step 2, eliminate an outlier. Step 3, look for answers that are close. And I'm going to show you that in this example as well, so you get an idea of what that looks like in like a real life SAT math problem. So if 2 answers are really close, the idea here is that it is likely, very likely, that it is between those 2. The chances are really, really good. That's what test makers do. When people make tests, they make it so that the right answer is very similar to a wrong answer. And that way, if you miss one little thing, you pick the wrong answer. And they're banking on you doing that, especially for harder problems, like on the SAT. They want you to get the hard problems wrong. So they're going to make them harder. They're going to make really good wrong answers. So that's it for that. Number 4, the new number 4, skip it and come back to it. So this one's really cool. I was looking at some other YouTubers talking about this topic, and apparently, and I mean, this seems legit. This is only just this one guy saying this, so this is like third-hand information at this point. So take this with a grain of salt. But apparently, if you get stuck on a problem And by the way, you shouldn't just try to just dive straight through and just don't stop until you have that's terrible, because you might get stuck on a problem and you just can't solve it. And if you waste like 10 minutes trying to solve this one problem, especially on the SAT, like the non-calculator section, 20 minutes, 25 minutes, sorry, 25 minutes to solve 20 problems. Like, what? No, if you take 10 minutes, that's like almost half your time. So don't do that. If you get into roughly 30 seconds into the problem, so just kind of, you need to get a feel for what 30 seconds feels like. This is another thing you want to practice. But let's say you're like 30 seconds into this really hard problem. You're like, man, I have no idea. Don't just give up and like circle something and go on to the next one and don't come back to it. Star it. Maybe put what you think might be the right answer and come back to it later. But star it and come back to it later, because this really cool thing happens. They found that when you go to other problems, your brain, like subconsciously, is actually working out those problems in the background. It's doing those problems, that problem that you got stuck on. It's like it's trying to chew on that problem in the background while you're working on these other problems. It's really crazy how our mind is like so amazing. But yeah, so that's pretty awesome that it does that. So take advantage of that and do that. Skip it, come back to it. Also, you don't want to get bogged down on one problem too early on. Later on in the test, if you have even 5 minutes left to go, awesome. Use that to try to go back to those really hard problems and chew on them some more. But do that. Skip it, come back to it. And then step 5, use other methods too. So I kind of talked about this earlier, but basically, if you feel like you do better, if you really believe and you really feel like you do better doing certain things, like peppermint chewing gum, having a certain meal, that sort of thing. And especially if you've established that you always test better doing that certain thing and not as good when you don't do that thing or things, then go for it. So, perfect example of this, really funny. I think it was funny. I just really liked it because I think I'm just kind of an interesting person. Not like in a really awesome way, but just I'm very weird, which I guess comes with the territory because I'm really good at math. Just like I just always have been. So I feel like people that are good at math are just weird. And I can say that because I'm weird. But here's what I did. When I was working on my bachelor's of math education, every time like exam week came up, I'd break out my neon orange camouflage pajama pants. All right, so just picture that if you can. Some neon orange camouflage pajama pants. They're so comfy. And I would wear those things for like the whole exam week. Yes, I did wash them at the end of the day. Go home, wash them and all that. But I wore those suckers for all of my exams. And you know what? I did pretty well. Now, I'm not saying that the secret hack above all else is to wear neon orange camouflage pajama pants, all right? If you want some, I'm sure they're on Amazon or something if you want it. I thought it was working pretty well for me. But that's the point, is if you really like something, or if you really have like this thing you like to do, or if you don't have one of these things yet, if you don't have something you like to do or like to wear or like some sort of habit that you have, or this tradition that you have, find one, make one up. Maybe if you're not very imaginative, then you can look up do some Googling, do some like YouTube videos, and see like what other people do as their thing that gets them A's on all of their exams, because there's some ridiculous ones out there. But find something fun. Find something fun to do that you can do on your tests that really helps you to like feel good. Like my pajama pants. I felt like a boss going into my exams with my neon orange camouflage pajama pants, and that worked for me. So Step 5, use other methods too. Find something fun to like implement as your like go-to exam, tradition. And because if you make it fun, then going into the test, it's going to decrease your anxiety, right? You don't want to go in with too much test anxiety. I know that's kind of a thing with a lot of people. But yeah, so don't go in with all that anxiety. Make it fun, make it enjoyable, right? Life's too short not to. So those are the steps there. And now that I'm done with all of those steps, I'm going to go ahead and jump into my example. So this is number 26 on, I believe it's SAT math practice test number 7. So by the way, if you haven't done this yet, you have access. If you're studying for the SAT, I don't know if you knew this, but you have access to 10 SAT math practice tests. Google it. Just SAT math practice test, and then type in a number between 1 and 10. All right. I recommend probably starting with 10 and then working down. But whatever you want to do, just type in your favorite 1-digit number or 10, along with SAT math practice test or whatever. It's not just math, it's the whole thing. But obviously I only tutor math, so it's just the math portions that I focus on. But yeah, go check that out. You have those available to you. This one is from math practice test number 7, the calculator portion, but you don't really need a calculator for this. So let's go ahead and look at implementing some of these strategies on here. So let's look at, first of all, step 1, right, is to just know the problem. And I'll do that last, actually. So I'm going to show you how to solve the problem, just to prove that this stuff works. And then obviously, it's not 100%. It's a trend. These are trends. These are good percentages of plan B, plan C, plan C. These are some good plan B, plan C, plan D options. But yeah, so without further ado, let's go ahead and look at the other steps. So I'm skipping step 1. I'm going to do that at the end. Step 2, eliminate an outlier. I skipped step 3. Step 3 is now look for answers that are close. Okay, so eliminate an outlier, and then I'm going to look for answers that are close. I'm also not going to skip it, obviously, because I'm only doing this one example. But yeah, so I'm going to eliminate an outlier. I'm going to look for answers that are close. Okay. So these options are completely the same up until after that 20. So notice it's all F equals, which actually it's a good idea to look at all your answer choices to figure out what you should do to actually solve it, to do plan A, to just solve it straight up. It's all F equals. So obviously your answer should say F equals something. So we'll keep that in mind. So that's all the same. And then there's a P and a C in parentheses, so that's pretty much all the same. But a lot of other stuff is different at this point. Let's look at what's different here. So this is different, right? But nothing too crazy there. Change colors again. 4/9, 4/9, 4/9, 9/4. Looks like I found my outlier there. And then all of these are plus except for this one. That one's a minus. If there's a sign change is not a good candidate for an outlier, unfortunately. But if you flip around a number, that's a decent outlier. Now, obviously, this is not a perfect example. This is just a really good example from this test. I've got much better examples that I could probably show you where there was an outlier that's just like out there. Like you're just like, what? Where did they even get that number from? So those kinds of numbers are outliers, right? Like if options A, B, and C are 2, 3, and 4, and then D is over 9,000, then obviously it's not D unless your name is Goku. So, you wouldn't pick D. It's either A, B, or C. Now, let's go ahead and look at what's similar. So I eliminated an outlier. I'm going to eliminate the outlier. Boom. It's not D. All right. Now, again, it could be. It's likely. I mean, I already know what the answer is, so I know it's not D. But this is a trend, right? So again, disclaimer. It's a trend. It's still possible, without looking at the context, without knowing what the right answer is already, it's still possible that D could be right. Okay, so I'm eliminating an outlier because I don't know any better yet. I'm just banking on my plan B, plan C, plan D stuff that I'm showing you in this video. So obviously, you just want to check it with actually solving it if you can. So I'm eliminating D as an outlier. Let's look at what's similar now. So I'm going to switch to my, my very colorful markers here. So A and B are actually completely identical except for one thing. So this plus and minus here is actually the only thing that A and B don't have in common. Everything else is the same. So it's actually going to be either A or B. I can eliminate C potentially as a not so good candidate because it's A and B are really, really similar. Okay, so normally there's only two that are really similar. So I picked this problem on purpose because it's a really cool example of how you can sometimes eliminate all the way down to just one answer without doing any math. And I've seen this happen several times on the SAT math portions. So I can say it's probably between A or B because A and B are really similar here. But check this out. So the only difference between B and C is this sign. This sign right here. That's the only difference between B and C. So actually, I can also say that it's probably between B and C. So now what? Right? Now normally for questions, you only have two that are very similar. So if you have to, just flip a little coin in your head and figure out, eeny, meeny, miny, mo, whatever, either A or B. But I've seen this happen a lot on SAT tests. So this is, I would say, something that's kind of cool that you can do. And again, this is if you have no idea, all right? When there's two things that are the same, and then another two things that are the same, what they have in common is the right answer, right? It's very, very likely. So actually, if I was to guess on this problem, I would guess B. That would be my answer, is B. Because it's either A or B, but it's also either B or C. So I would go with B. And actually, B is the right answer. I'm going to show you why. So let's go ahead and solve this problem. If you haven't already tried to solve this problem yet in this video, I encourage you to go ahead and pause the video. I know I'm pulling a Saul Khan right here, but go ahead and pause the video. I steal from the best. Go ahead and pause the video if you want to go ahead and try this problem out and see if you can get it. Oh, you need the context before you can solve this. Sorry. This was the second problem, and then before that there was some context. So the context was that there are 4 calories in 1 gram of protein. That was in this table, so I don't know if this is like for sure true or not, but in this table that you need to solve this problem, there was 4 calories in 1 gram of protein, 9 calories in 1 gram of fat, and then 4 calories again in 1 gram of carbohydrates. I don't know. So now you have enough context in order to solve this problem. At this point, you can solve this problem. So if you want to, at this point, go ahead and pause the video to try to solve it. Go for it. And so in regular Khan Academy fashion, I'm going to be like, well, I'm assuming you've had a go at it. And let's look at how to solve this thing. So I would do 180. I'm going to start with 180. Oh, and by the way, in my previous video yesterday that I did, I was talking about math word problems, ironically enough. And step 1 is to circle the numbers and letters. Step 2 is to underline what they mean, aka the context. 180 is calories. P is grams of protein. F is grams of fat. C is grams of carbs. And then step 3 is to box in or do something else to figure out what they want. They want to know which is a good, hey, I want you to find this thing kind of word. Which. Not the ones that cackle, but the WHICH kind of witches. So box all of this in, and I left it kind of open so that I can pretend like it goes on infinitely and then comes back around. Which of the following expresses F in terms of P and C? So even if you didn't know what that meant, you're like, expresses F in what? Sorry, what? A, B, C, and D all start off with F equals. So you're going to need to solve for F. You're going to need to solve for F. But before we can do that, we probably need to set up our equation. So actually, let me not start with 180. Let me do this. So P grams of protein. If I have 1 gram of protein, that's going to have 4 calories in it. If I have 2 grams of protein, it's going to have 8 calories in it. So 8 calories. So I'm going to be multiplying the grams of protein. So P grams is going to get multiplied by the calories. That's going to give me how many calories it is for P grams protein. So 4P. Right? And then I'm just going to follow suit for the rest of the letters. So 4P plus, oh, not 4, sorry, 9. F plus 4C. So that's going to give me a bunch of calories, right? So let's say I have 1 gram of protein, 1 gram of fat, 1 gram of carbs. That's 4 plus 9 plus 4. That's going to give me a total amount of calories. I want 180 altogether because I'm eating this cool granola bar that has 180 calories, right? I hope it's like a big 100 bar. I really like those things. But, and they're not completely vegan, so, you know, I'm vegan with a huge asterisk. Mostly vegetarian, actually. But, you know, anyways. So now I've set up my equation, and I just need to solve for F. So let's go ahead and get all this other stuff to the other side. Let's have it break on through to the other side. So I'm going to do 4P, 4C, subtract, boom, boom. Anytime you subtract something from itself, it goes away because math. All right? If you subtract something from itself, it goes away, even if you don't know what it is. Crazy. But anyway, so 9F equals 180 minus 4P minus 4C. And I'm almost there. I just need to divide everything by 9. So divide everything by 9. I'm going to scroll up a little bit here. And so that gets me F by itself. And I'm actually going to go ahead and divide each of those things by 9. Anytime you have stuff on the top of a fraction and only one thing on the bottom, you can split it up into however many fractions. So I've got 3 things on the top, which means I can split it up into, you guessed it, 3 things. So it's 180 over 9, 180 over 9, 18 over 9. 18 divided by 9 is 2. So 180 over 9 is 20. You probably could have guessed that anyways because A, B, C, and D all have a 20 in them. So I know I'm on the right track so far. Minus 4/9 P minus 4/9 C. So check it out. It's looking pretty good so far, but it does not look like my answers yet because it looks like they factored out a 4/9. So let's go ahead and do that. 20 minus 4/9. I'm going to factor that out. So be really careful here. Actually, in my first take of this video, I almost forgot to put the right sign on this bad boy. So that actually brings me into a shameless plug for my free thing. I've got a free guide called The 5 Math Mistakes Everyone Makes and How to Avoid Them. It's on my website, myersmathematics.com. Same name as my channel, just all one thing with no space.com. And you can go there and you can grab that free guide. So go ahead and do that. And the reason why I put that like shameless free plug there, is because step 1 on the guide, spoiler alert, is signs. Signs are the number one thing that people miss, right? Signs kill more math problems than coronavirus cases. That's how many, that's an epidemic, okay? Signs are terrible. They kill math problems. Watch out for signs, okay? All right, so anyways, without further ado, we're dealing with a negative sign here, so be careful. So P, if I factor out a negative 4/9, that's a P. If I factor out another negative 4/9 from C, it's going to be a positive C. That's a plus C, not a minus C. I almost put a minus sign on my last iteration. I caught it, just so you know, I caught it. I put the right sign on it. I caught my mistake. But on this one, I'm doing it right the first time. So 20 minus 4/9 P plus C, that is my final answer, because guess what? That is answer choice B. B is F equals 20 minus 4/9 parentheses P plus C. B was the right answer. And guess what? This stuff really works, y'all. Now, of course, step A, plan A, is to just know how to solve it. All right, just study it, know it really well, and you can do well on the test. But here's some good plan B, C, D, E, F, Q, R, J kind of stuff that you can bank on if you are just stuck. All right, so this is for like hopefully the 1 or 2 problems at the end of the test that you skipped and came back to that you're still like, I have no idea, what do I do? Here's what you can do. All right, hopefully it's only like 1 or 2, because you're going to study really well and do a really good job. So anyways, that comes to the end of the video. This video is the second one in a series. So the first one was on word problems. Second one, this is on multiple choice hacks. I'm actually putting this out a little bit later than I planned on. This is going to come out at like roughly 10:30 or so. So there's going to be another one tomorrow. So if you're watching this tonight for some reason, which is highly unlikely, then you'll actually probably see it over the next few days, but this is coming out on May 2nd. May 3rd is a Sunday. I'm going to have a video come out on May 3rd, but I'm going to put out the video. I'm going to make the video tonight and have it scheduled to come out tomorrow, because I just don't think you should work, 6 days and then rest on the 7th day, which is a biblical thing, because I am a Christian, but a lot of things in the Bible are just good life principles. It was once said that you can always get more done in 6 days than you can in 7. A lot of studies show this to be true. If you take 1 day out of the week, it doesn't even matter what day it is, really. If you take 1 day, let's say Wednesday, and you just do nothing, and by nothing I mean like, just not working, whatever your career is, like not doing those sorts of things on that day, then it's actually really nice. You get a nice reprieve, you get a nice rest day in. And some people do more than 1 day, but at least 1 day where you just chill, just chill, all right, I'm taking a break, not doing anything work related, get my mind totally off it, read a nice book or something. But yeah, so anyways, I'm going to put out another video tonight that's coming out tomorrow, Sunday at around 4 p.m. because that's going to be the time that I try to have these videos coming out. But yeah, so if this video was helpful, go ahead and smash the like button and the subscribe button and the notifications. Just smash them all simultaneously. It'll work, I promise. And I hope to see you in another episode. This has been Mr. Kyle.